Welcome back to Living Local. When we turn on the faucet to get a glass of water, or you go swim in a lake, or you cook freshly caught fish from a river, well, most of us don't think twice about whether these things are safe to do or not. Well, behind the scenes, scientists are constantly working to safeguard water quality. Now you have an opportunity to become a citizen scientist and contribute to one of the largest water quality databases in Iowa. Joining us in studio today is Cassie Drool with Partners of Scott County Watersheds to talk about water quality and all things involved with that. Cassie, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks.
Let's talk first about your organization, first of all, Partners of Scott County Watersheds. What all do you guys do?
So Partners of Scott County Watersheds started in the mid-90s originally as a way to address some water quality issues that were happening in Duck Creek over in Scott County.
Okay.
So there were a lot of flooding problems which contributed to water quality problems. A lot of times when watersheds will flood, they'll pick up pollutants that are lying within the surrounding landscape, and also just regular stormwater issues. Stormwater management is evolving constantly, and so this was just an example of a watershed that needed some extra help.
Right.
And so
it's a pretty urban watershed.
Right.
Yeah.
And so since then, Partners of Scott County Watersheds has evolved to monitor the water quality of several streams in Scott County. So we go all around all the borders and everywhere in between, from major creeks like Duck Creek to tributaries that flow into it. And
Cassie, water quality is obviously incredibly important because water is important to us, but I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about, I guess, I don't know, what things that can go into their water. We hear about, like nitrogen pollution from farm fields a lot, but there's a lot of things that come off of people's yards, off of streets, right, that goes into our water.
Right. So Partners of Scott County Watersheds monitors water quality in several different ways, talking about physical, chemical, and also biological factors that can contribute to water quality. So it can be anything from fertilizers on your yard or in farm practices. It could be that there's a lot of flooding, and so it's picking up lots of sediment particles and carrying them somewhere else and causing flooding somewhere else downstream, or rerouting a stream. Or it could be something like if you have chemicals going down your stream, how is that going to affect other wildlife that's living in that water too?
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of ramifications that you don't even think about. Now, you have a program for ordinary people, anyone really, who can help out monitor water quality in Scott County. It's called Snapshot, right?
Yep.
Tell us about it.
So it's called a Snapshot because we gather groups of volunteers to go out all at the same time on the same day and test the water quality of between 50 and 60 watersheds in Scott County. Okay. So in a 4-hour period, we'll normally have about 35 to 40 volunteers break into groups, and then each of those groups will go and test 5 to 7 different creeks for different chemical, physical, and biological parameters, report those back to us. So within a 4-hour time span, we get a snapshot example of the water quality in the entire county.
Okay, and you use a lot of some of the stuff we've got on the table, correct?
Yep. So this is an example of a kit that all volunteer groups will get when they volunteer for a snapshot. So this is the most important thing. This is the collection bucket, because we don't want everyone creek stomping. Sometimes it's a little dangerous with plant growth, or sometimes it's muddy and people just don't want to get that dirty. So a lot of times we will make sure that there is a bridge nearby where volunteers can throw this bucket down and collect a sample. Then the water that they collect in here, they can perform all of the other tests for. So these are all examples of chemical tests. So we have different dipsticks where the volunteers can simply dip a stick in the water and then it turns a color that they can compare on the bottle itself. There's also some different ones where we have some glass vials that you will put into the water. There's a chemical reactant that goes in there and changes a different color for you to compare. And then we also have something, this is called a turbidity tube, or a transparency tube, and it shows you how much sediment is going in the water. So this one's as easy as pouring the water in, letting it out slowly through this tube until you can see there is a black and white symbol on the bottom of this. Once you can see the symbol clearly, you measure where you see it, and that's a measurement of how clear or how murky the water is.
Okay. Now, some of these chemical tests, we've got some demonstrations here, right? Which one should we do first?
Let's do pH.
pH first? Okay.
So pH is a water quality parameter that a lot of people are familiar with from chemistry classes. And it's a very easy one to determine. So pH is on a scale of 0 to 14, and so it basically lets you know how acidic the water is or how basic a water is. And so neutral is 7, and that is the measurement that's healthy for us to drink, also healthy for wildlife to thrive in the watershed, and also plays a factor with other chemical parameters in the water. So Iowa has some state standards for where the pH should fall in a watershed, and so it's from 6 to 9. So what we'll do today is we will dip one of these strips. Are you interested in doing it?
Sure.
All right, so you just dip it in immediately into this water, pull it out, hold it flat for 15 seconds, and then we'll compare what color it is on the bottle.
To the actual thing, okay.
Yep.
So dips it in for how long?
Just like that.
Oh, just like that?
Yep.
Okay.
Hold it up. We'll count
it.
to 15. We're close enough.
Yeah, thereabouts. All right, so then my color is kind of like an aqua-y blue.
Hold it right up to the bottle if you want.
Oh yeah, here. That looks close to the 7, 8, somewhere around there.
Great.
Slightly basic.
Yep. So between the 7 or 6 to 9 range is what we're looking for. And so being a volunteer, we don't expect them to have an exact eye for things like this. What Partners is more concerned about is monitoring trends in water quality. So our water quality database has been running for over 20 years, and so we test the same sites all the time to monitor trends to see if a water body is in trouble, and then we can possibly find solutions for that.
Okay, now moving on from pH, let's talk about nitrogen here, right? This one?
Yep. So nitrogen is a naturally occurring element that helps plants grow, but it's also used by humans to fertilize their lawns, their potted plants. Also in agriculture, it's used to help crops grow. And so there's a possibility of having too much of a good thing. Plants can only soak up so much nitrogen. So if too much is applied, the rest of it can easily run off into the water body after the next storm. So we want to closely monitor this to make sure that there isn't too much nitrogen getting into the stream. That can cause excessive plant growth, which in turn kind of takes away all the oxygen from the other organisms that are living in the creek. So with this one, it's the exact same sort of format.
Okay.
We dip this one in.
Straight in, straight out?
Straight in, straight out,
yeah. Go ahead.
Like this.
And then what colors are we, what's our scale here? Yeah, I
so,
can hold it.
For drinking water standards with Iowa, we want this to be 10 milligrams per liter or less. So in this example, I decided to make it a lot higher than that just so we could see it on TV. And so this is an example of if there's too much nitrogen in the system. This water actually has some fertilizer with Miracle-Gro in it.
That'll do it.
So this is what you'll compare. So nitrogen comes in two forms, nitrate, nitrite. You just compare the colors like this. So this one's pretty high.
Yeah.
So normally, we would want it to be less pink.
Okay, so Cassie, if folks want to take part in Snapshot, tell us the when, the where, how they actually go about doing that.
Okay, so the next Snapshot we're going to have is Tuesday, October 6th, and it's from 8 to noon at the Bettendorf Surrey Heights Fire Station on Crow Creek Road. Partners of Scott County Watersheds actually holds 3 snapshots every year, so that way we can get a very accurate reading of how the water quality is doing throughout the different seasons.
Throughout the seasons.
Yep, so the fall one's scheduled for October 6th, and volunteers can sign up at extremecleanup.org. Extreme Cleanup is another nonprofit that coordinates a lot of different environmental events and posts it on their website and manages registration for us. And what happens when you register is that you will show up and you will be put into a volunteer group. You can also sign up with your friends and let me know if you want to be with your friends. And then you will be assigned a section of the county with 5 to 6 water quality sites, as well as all the materials you see here. And you'll have a short training on how to do all of these tests. You'll go out and do them, record your results, and bring them back to us. And then volunteers also get a free t-shirt and free pizza as an appreciation.
Ooh, all right, there you go. So even if you didn't want to do it just because it's an important thing to do, there's some incentive as well. Cassie, thank you so much for coming in, talking to us about Snapshot coming up this fall, next month, I guess, in October. That's with partners of Scott County Watersheds. We'll also have, oh, I forgot, yeah, if you want to register, just head over to extremecleanup.org. That's the website on your screen. We'll also have those details posted on our website, ourquadcities.com.